A new, really interesting video just got leaked. It shows the real fight between Chris Paul and his coach, Ty Lue. In the clip, you can hear Coach Lue yelling very loudly, CP3 during a team practice. But wait, that's not even the wildest part. What a former player named Kendrick Perkins just said about what Chris Paul was secretly doing behind Coach Lue's back explains the whole problem, and it's pretty bad. This video got super popular online. Honestly, the Clippers basketball team is famous for having drama, for breaking fans' hearts, and for messing up in big games for years and years. But what happened on December 3rd, 2025 feels like the most shocking and confusing way any team has ever treated a superstar player who will be in the Hall of Fame one day. Chris Paul, a 12-time All-Star, the guy everyone calls the best point guard of his time, nicknamed Point God because he runs a team's offense so perfectly, just got kicked out by the same team where he created the amazing Lob City era. That Lob City time is still the best time in Clippers history. Now, this hot preseason practice video is making everything worse and making everyone guess what really went wrong between Paul and head coach Ty Lue. The clip already has millions of views on TikTok and YouTube. It catches a crazy moment during practice at the Clippers building in Playa Vista, California. Coach Lue is running a play for the end of a game. James Harden, who is supposed to throw the ball in from the sideline, stops and tells Lue that CP3 quickly ran off to get a drink of water. What happens next shook the whole basketball world. Lue gets super angry, waving his arms everywhere, and just explodes. Fuck CP3, ain't nobody knowing. Get the ball, play, and get to your action. The fact that this video is going mega viral again right now, just days after Paul got kicked off the team, is wild timing. The basketball world is full of shock, confusion, and straight-up disbelief at what they watched. I don't know about you guys, but waking up and seeing Chris Paul's Instagram story saying, "I've been notified that I'm being sent home," with a peace sign emoji. Wow. Yeah, I'm still waiting for more details to come out. I think once more stuff comes out, that's going to shape what I really think. A former Clippers guard, Bones Hyland, who is now with the Minnesota Timberwolves, immediately defended his old coach when the clip started spreading everywhere. Speaking for Ty, this how he joked around with us. "He's a great coach and good dude," Hyland posted on social media. He also had that relationship with his players, where he talked to us like this, and it didn't have any bad feelings behind it. But the real story of why Paul actually got kicked out paints a totally different picture. It's full of growing arguments, broken communication, and the team falling apart. According to a reporter named Shams Charania, Paul and Lue hadn't spoken in weeks before the split. This total communication breakdown between a head coach and one of the most experienced point guards ever shows leadership failing on many levels. Another reporter, Chris Haynes, said that weeks before everything blew up, Paul actually asked for a meeting with Lue to talk about rumors he was being a bad vibe in the locker room. Instead of using that moment to fix things with a legend, Chris Paul, Lue reportedly refused the meeting completely. I thought it was just shocking. The fact that a player of his stature, what he's meant to that franchise, the fact that you send him home in the middle of the night on a road trip, I felt like was just disrespectful. Someone said about it. The way Paul finally learned he was done adds even more pain. Paul posted on Instagram at 2:40 in the morning with a message as simple as it was heartbreaking. "Just found out I'm being sent home. with nothing but a peace sign emoji. Lawrence Frank, the Clippers president, broke the news during a 3-hour meeting that started at 11 p.m. while the team was stuck at the airport because of plane problems. Frank tried to explain it publicly, saying nobody is blaming Chris for our bad play, and he took responsibility for the team's 5-16 record. But people inside the team described a much messier situation. Former player Lou Williams said on a show that Paul had been calling out everybody, from players to coaches to the team bosses. CP3 was holding players and coaches accountable. He was critical of the front office. That was the straw that broke the camel's back, Williams explained, saying Paul finally crossed a line the team couldn't accept. A phrase that describes this whole disaster is locker room lawyering. According to a news site, Paul had several meetings with Clippers bosses who directly told him to stop this behavior. Now, 2 or 3 of those guys were on probation, for bad behavior, and one missed the bus. Another one just decided to leave, and another one, got in trouble with some other stuff. But I don't know what Chris Paul deserved to do for that, because teams just don't do that. So, that's my thing. Lou's own words showed a coach struggling with how complicated everything got. I just think it wasn't a good fit for what he was looking for, he said during a press conference. Do I want to see CP go out like this? No. I have a lot of respect for him. He's been a friend of mine over the years. Warriors forward Draymond Green, who played with Paul during the 2023-24 season, sent a serious warning to every NBA player. If you're an NBA player, this should bother you, Green said on his podcast, because that shows you what can happen to you. When you're great, it's fine. They accept a vocal leader in holding people accountable. But when you're on the end, all of a sudden, your experiences don't matter anymore. Green's words hit hard across the league because they exposed a harsh truth about pro sports that players pretend doesn't exist. Loyalty and respect often only last as long as your value does. Paul had signed a 1-year, $11 million deal with the Clippers in July 2025, planning it as his final NBA season and a homecoming to the team where he had his best years from 2011 to 2017. During that first time, Paul turned the Clippers from constant losers into real championship contenders, teaming with Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan to create the Lob City era, a pattern of drama and messiness. As the shock from Chris Paul's exit started to calm a little, tons of voices from the basketball world jumped in. Former players, analysts, people involved in gambling, and insiders all tried to piece together what happened and who's really at fault for one of the most talked about exits in recent NBA history. Kendrick Perkins, the former NBA champion, who's now one of the loudest voices in basketball media, had a unique angle to share. Appearing on a show with Richard Jefferson and Channing Frye, both guys who won rings under Lue in Cleveland, Perkins pushed back against the idea that Paul was only a victim. Jefferson won a championship with Ty Lue. Channing Frye won a championship with Ty Lue. So they know Ty Lue very well. They know that it takes a lot to get to Ty Lue. They know what type of person Ty Lue is. Perkins framing it this way was a big change from the sympathy Paul first got, because he used his co-host's real experience with Lue. Perkins hinted the full story is way more complicated than people think. He then dropped bombshell claims about Paul's secret actions. The stuff Perkins said, that Paul was acting like a divider, going behind the coach's backs to talk directly to players and possibly messing with team hierarchy, was a huge escalation. These weren't just the actions of a loud leader who accidentally stepped on toes. These were the actions of someone actively hurting team unity. Perkins shared what he called insider info from former teammates. "I've been reading and I've been listening," he explained. "A lot of text messages I've been receiving that said, 'Hey Perk, stop it now. You know CP3 ain't no saint.' And these were people that actually shared a locker room with CP3. This specific story, Paul straight up ignoring assistant coach Jeff Van Gundy's orders during an actual game, causing a defensive breakdown, showed exactly the behavior sources called problematic. A veteran bench player actively undermining coaching authority during a game is a major violation of pro etiquette. This revelation that Paul had been warned multiple times adds crucial context to the final breaking point. The team didn't act rashly. They had attempted several solutions before deciding separation was necessary. Whether those solutions were handled properly is debatable, but the growing tensions were clearly evident to people inside the organization. Yet Perkins still put some blame on the front office, too. "My feelings still remain the same about Lawrence Frank," he declared. "He needs to be gone. My feelings don't change about him." Richard Jefferson gave important insight into Paul's mindset and why his situation deteriorated so quickly. "And I just don't think Chris Paul is a hurrah guy. He's not a guy to sit and be like, 'Jeff Van Gundy is right,' or 'Ty is right.' Chris Paul, from everything I've heard from every other player who's played with him, Chris Paul needs to be the smartest guy in the room. And if he's not, he's going to argue you down." This view of Paul's need to always appear the most knowledgeable person in basketball discussions provided key understanding of why accepting a reduced role was so difficult for him. For 2 decades, Paul had been the floor general, the on-court coach. Being asked to step back for others may have been completely against the competitive fire that made him great. Jefferson then explained what the 15th man's role should actually look like, drawing a clear distinction between helpful mentoring and undermining authority. DeMarcus Cousins, the former All-Star center who had his own rough experience with the Clippers from 2020 to 2022, delivered perhaps the strongest criticism of Lue. "I'm really disappointed with Ty and how he has handled this situation," Cousins declared on a show. "We've seen it become a pattern. I've experienced it. I saw him do it to Rajon Rondo. Now you do this to Chris Paul. Rumors have it you did it to John Wall. It's becoming a pattern how he deals with his players. To brand yourself as a player's coach, you're not really showing those tendencies with these patterns that are continuing to happen." Cousins continued, directly challenging Lue's reputation as a player's coach and adding more fuel to the drama. A second viral clip surfaced, showing an awkward moment between Paul and an unknown woman outside the locker room. When Lue walks around the corner and hugs her, Paul steps back with what viewers called a guilty expression. Social media immediately connected it to Kanye West's old 2018 tweet, creating memes about Kanye warning people about CP3. However, fact-checking revealed the woman was a Clippers PR staff member, not anyone romantically linked to either man. This connection to Rajon Rondo's infamous dismissal from the Dallas Mavericks in 2014, when he was essentially kicked off the team mid-playoffs for not listening, highlighted a recurring theme in the careers of smart, veteran point guards. Their basketball IQ can become a problem when it conflicts with coaching authority, leading to big conflicts that require major changes. The pattern Cousins highlighted raises difficult questions about whether certain types of players, veteran leaders used to running the show, are fundamentally incompatible with smaller roles no matter what they intend. Paul did great in Phoenix with a young team that let him lead. In Los Angeles, surrounded by other veterans and strong personalities, that same leadership style created friction instead of unity. Jefferson's comment that Paul's legacy will remain intact despite this ugly ending speaks to the complex relationship between on-court excellence and off-court dynamics. Paul's resume: 12 All-Star appearances, 11 All-NBA teams, the league's all-time leader in assists, stands alone regardless of how his final season ends. Yet the way he left will undoubtedly become part of his story, a cautionary tale about changing from a star to a role player. The aftermath and uncertain future. The effects of Chris Paul's exit continue rippling through the basketball world, raising larger questions about team loyalty, treatment of aging veterans, and the challenge of fitting competitive fire into reduced roles. As Paul remains in limbo, still under contract but effectively banished, the situation has become a broader commentary on how the NBA manages its legends in their final years. The Clippers themselves have tried to move forward, beating the Atlanta Hawks on the night of Paul's dismissal to snap their 5-game losing streak. Yet, the underlying problems that led to Paul's removal have not magically disappeared with his absence. The team remains 6-17, stuck at the bottom of the Western Conference. A discussion on a show revealed a crucial piece of context many overlooked: that Lue had explicitly warned Paul about the challenges of his role before he even signed. Before CP3 signed with the Clippers, Ty Lue sat down with CP3 and told him his role, quote, his role was going to be the third point guard on the roster. Basically, you're not going to see a lot of minutes. I need you to be that vet. I need you to be that voice. I need you to be an extension of me. That cryptic comment, "I don't want to lose any more friends," suggested Lue foresaw potential conflict from the beginning. The question is whether enough was done to prevent that conflict from getting worse. The comparison to players who successfully changed to smaller roles was interesting, but painful for Paul's supporters. Look at Grant Hill. He becomes a role player, but his energy was always positive. He accepted a lesser role. That's what I'm saying. He accepted a lesser role. Derrick Rose. Part of the reason why Derrick Rose's career lasted as long as it did is he accepted being a backup or a third point guard and just being a good dude in the locker room. Yet, this comparison may be unfair. Hill's injuries happened early, so he had time to adapt. Rose's decline came with real thankfulness for any playing time. Paul's situation was different. He had played all 82 games the year before. His smaller role was a team decision, not because he couldn't play. Jefferson then shared his personal experience with Lue during their Cleveland days, giving a real perspective on the coach's communication style. He clearly communicated to me that I was going to be out of the rotation, but stay ready. He had a clear conversation with CP before the season. I've been in that seat. He's like, hey, this is what it is, right? We're bringing you on. We don't necessarily need you, but you are a Clipper. You are a Hall of Famer. We want you to end your career here. But this is what the role is going to be. Your ability to or inability to accept it is the difference between finishing your retirement tour and being sent home. That final statement, the difference between finishing your retirement tour and being sent home, summarized the entire situation in one devastating sentence. Paul had been given a choice, and his inability to fully accept the terms led to this humiliating end. The Clippers have not officially released Paul, stopping him from immediately signing elsewhere. This weird status adds more chaos. Reports have linked him to other teams, the Lakers, because he's friends with LeBron James, the Warriors, where he played last season. But finding a spot is complicated. Do you guys believe that Chris Paul will be on another team this season, or is that how his retirement tour comes to an end? I think we'll see CP3 in the studio soon. I don't want him to go out that way. I don't want to see him in a studio somewhere. If CP3 wanted to, he could do whatever. The suggestion that Paul might go straight to TV rather than play more reflects the limited options. At 40 years old, with 20 seasons of NBA experience, Paul has little left to prove on the court. The question is whether his competitive drive will let him walk away on anything less than his own terms. Paul has said, through people close to him, that he has no plan to retire now. His wish to finish his goodbye season is strong, despite the humiliating situation. A former player, Robert Horry, directly blamed Lawrence Frank for making an environment where veteran players are consistently disrespected on their way out. Longer footage from the practice provides context. The viral clip leaves out Paul and Lue speaking calmly afterward, with the veteran nodding and joining normally in later drills. DeAndre Jordan said the whole incident was no big deal on his podcast, but the full story was lost in the viral spread, letting people make their own guesses about Lue's words. A FaceTime call shared after the dismissal, featuring Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan, the Lob City trio, had big symbolic meaning. All three had been let go in not great ways from the Clippers. Griffin was traded months after signing a new deal. Jordan left in free agency. And now Paul was kicked out during what was supposed to be his victory lap. The message was clear. This team has a history of treating its star players as disposable. What remains undeniable is that one of basketball's greatest point guards deserved a much better ending than a 2:40 a.m. Instagram post announcing his exile. Chris Paul's 2-decade career earned him a proper goodbye party, not a midnight dismissal. Whatever comes next for the point god, the Clippers' handling of his leaving will remain one of the most embarrassing chapters in team history. The viral footage of Ty Lue's preseason outburst will keep going around on social media, missing the full story but loaded with meaning. Whether his words were truly mean or just tough coaching has become irrelevant. Their permanent presence online ensures they will forever be linked to Paul's disgraceful exit from the organization, where he built his main legacy, which the team has now seemingly thrown away. The comparison to how other teams honor retiring legends is both helpful and painful. Kobe Bryant got a full-season farewell tour. Dwayne Wade got similar treatment. Even Dirk Nowitzki was celebrated. Paul, by contrast, has gotten only controversy, disappointment, and dismissal from the team that should have welcomed him back. Whatever his supposed mistakes, the locker room lawyering, the challenging of coaching decisions, they seem small next to the shame of being sent home at 2 a.m. on a road trip, learning his fate through a late-night meeting instead of a respectful process, thanking him for being an icon for the team. The irony is that the very qualities that made Paul one of the greatest point guards ever, his intensity, attention to detail, refusal to accept just okay play, are the same qualities that made him not fit with the Clippers' current setup. Throughout his career, Paul has been a demanding teammate. This approach made great success during his best years. But at the end, with his body not able to enforce those standards on the court, Paul's intensity became a problem instead of a help. The court of public opinion has given its verdict, and the viral footage that started this whole conversation will remain lasting evidence in the case against a team that has once again shown its talent for wasting great opportunities and disrespecting the players who made them matter. Social media reaction has been explosive. Within 48 hours of the clip coming back, talk about it on X passed 500,000 interactions. Fans, analysts, and former players all gave their opinion on what they saw. The talk was divided, as expected. Those who like Paul's competitive fire defended him, while those who find his personality annoying used reports of his behavior as proof they were right. Memes spread fast. Edits putting Lue's outbursts over Paul's career highlights got millions of views, and the conversation shows no sign of slowing. For the Clippers organization, the way forward is still unclear. Their 6-17 record puts them 13th in the Western Conference, basically out of the playoffs already. The Paul drama has overshadowed their on-court struggles, creating a public relations nightmare that may last for years. And the questions about Lawrence Frank's leadership and Lue's handling of veteran players will keep hanging over the team until big wins make their expensive decisions look good. Thanks for watching. Thank you so much for watching. You guys are the best. We're doing awesome. Please subscribe if you like the videos. Thank you again. See you in the next one. Have an awesome day.